Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to SALINA'S world. On this episode, we are going to be making Buckeyes. That is what people would call Reese's peanut butter cups. So what you'll need is an 18-ounce jar of peanut butter of your choice, creamy. You can make it with the crunchy if you want, but they're a little more harder to dip than the creamy. So I make sure I use the creamy. You need a bag of powdered sugar, and there's a bag in this here, and you'll need half a stick of butter, and I forgot the vanilla. We'll need about a tablespoon of vanilla. Now this is just for the peanut butter balls to start with. After I show you how to mix all that up, then I'll show you how to dip it. But right now we need to start off with an 18-ounce jar of peanut butter. Take the lid off here. Maybe I need a smaller spoon. It's not wanting to go in this jar too well. And I just dig it all out. I'm going to get a smaller spoon here because it's not, this spatula is not working too well. Let's try this. There we go. Just empty this jar as much as you can. This is a very simple recipe. You just mix everything together. And I'll show you the consistency that it needs, because if it gets too dry, you want to add a little bit of peanut butter or a little bit of regular butter to it to moisten it up. But if it's too moist, then you put a little more powdered sugar in it. So right now, we got all the peanut butter in the bowl. I'm going to put this half a stick of butter in it. And mix that up real good. Want to make sure that's all combined real good. Now I'll put the vanilla in also. I do about a half a tablespoon of vanilla. About a half. And combine that real good before you put the powdered sugar in it. Because once you put the powdered sugar in it, it's a little harder to combine that butter and vanilla. So. See how creamy that looks? Looks real creamy after you combine all that butter and the vanilla to it. Okay, now you take your powdered sugar. It's a whole bag, but I put in a little at a time so you don't get a powdered sugar dust. You put that all in there. When you go to mix it, it's going to go all over the place. So start off with a little bit at a time. And that way, too, if you don't need as much of the powdered sugar, then you'll know, because of the consistency. We just want enough of the powdered sugar in it to make it to where it doesn't stick to your hands. But if you put too much powdered sugar in it, then it will get crumbly, and you don't want it that way. Because when you go to dip it, it will just break up all in your chocolate. Now you're going to have to use your hands on this once you get to this stage, because it does get really thick and very hard to manage. So try to get all the peanut butter off your spatula here, because you're going to want all of that. Okay. A little more powdered sugar. Just a little at a time. Probably about a half a cup or so. Ooh, powder dust. Now use your hands to mix this. I'm going to bring it down a little bit so you can see how I'm doing it. What I do is I just take it and squeeze it through my hands. And that way I can tell if it's getting too dry or not. It smells good. And this looks like it's going to be enough powdered sugar for this. Because see, it's already forming the ball, and it's not sticking to my hand. So that's probably good enough. I probably used about 2 cups of powdered sugar. But make sure you get this all mixed up to where you see no white in your bowl. Scrape the edges, make sure you get all that. Okay. I'll scrape some of this off the bottom here. Okay. It's getting to the consistency that I like, so. Just got to make sure it's all combined real good. I still got some of the powdered sugar on the bottom that's not combined. So you just sit there and keep kneading it until it gets all in there. And you want it to have all the brown look. If it's got any spots of white, that means your sugar is not mixed up good enough. Okay, I think I'm pretty good here. It's still got a little stickiness to it, but not much. So here, and pat your fingers on it to try to get all the peanut butter off your fingers onto the ball. Basically clean your fingers on the ball of dough. And just knead it just for a little bit to make sure it's all combined. And make sure it's not too sticky or not too dry. Because when you go to make these balls, see how it's dry but it's not sticky? You can roll it in your hands, or I have a melon baller that I use. Let me wash my hands here, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got my hands washed. Now we're going to start making the balls. Now what I do is I put my melon baller, and I just push it all into the melon baller, like that. And then go like that to it, and then I make a round ball out of it. Okay, and it makes about a good size bite. Okay, or you can do it by hand, but if you do it by hand, you usually don't get the same size balls. And then you'll put it on a cookie sheet with parchment paper. I'll do a few of these here to show you. And just roll it. Now if this gets too sticky, just stick it in the refrigerator and it will dry them up a little bit. Only for about 10 minutes or so. Because the longer this peanut butter is out in the air, the more stickier it will get. So I'll just make a few balls here. Just scrape it off. Just make sure it's all in there. Okay. Now I'm going to finish making all these balls, and I'll bring you back to show you the next step. See you in a minute. Okay, I'm back. So now, what I did, that melon baller was a little too big, so I went through and made them smaller to about a 1-inch ball. Just good, small little bite size. So I did them all by hand. So that melon baller that I did was just a little bit too big, so I redid them. Okay. Now, at this point, I put them in the freezer and let them freeze before I dip them in the chocolate. So that's what I'm going to do with this right now, is put it in the freezer. And it may take about, I'd say 30 minutes for it to freeze. I'll bring you back when it's done freezing. But once it's frozen and I go to dip it in the chocolate, these are just little bitty cupcake cups, paper cups that I put in a small cupcake pan. And when I dip it in the chocolate, then I'll put them in here, and they make great gifts. Or, on my case, what I'm doing with them is once I get done, I will freeze them until the holiday. For like Thanksgiving or Christmas. Because these are good to freeze and use at a later time when you want to use them. So I will freeze these in an airtight container once they're done, and then I'll either put them in a baggie or something and with my food saver and take out all the air, and they can stay in your freezer for quite a while. So as of right now, I'll show you what I do with the chocolate. I'm going to bring you over here to show you what I do with the chocolate. Sorry, here. Okay. I take the chocolate, and I use almond bark. I don't know if you can see that bag. Almond bark chocolate, it's upside down. And I break them up into little squares like this, and I put them in my food processor. Just a little at a time, because if you put too much in it, then it will clog your food processor. And then I'll just pulse it. Until they get into little small pieces. See, like that? Small pieces. And then what I do, you can either put it over a double boiler and melt your chocolate, or I have a little crock pot that right now I've got it on high, and it will melt this chocolate. Once the chocolate is melted, then you could dip your chocolate in it. Just a moment, I gotta get my spatula to stir the chocolate, because you don't want to leave this on high. Once it's melted, you'll put it on low because you don't want it to burn. So you need to watch this chocolate at all times. Don't walk away from it, because if it burns and scalds, then it's not good to use. So while those peanut butter balls are freezing, I melt my chocolate like this on high, and then once it's ready, I turn it down to low, and I will work with it from there. So once my peanut butter balls are thawed out or are froze, I will bring you back and show you what I do. Okay, I'm back. So now the chocolate is pretty well ready. You can sit here and temper the chocolate to make it real shiny, or you can take a tablespoon of coconut oil, and this will make it shiny. I don't use this a lot. I use it once in a while. So, but you just take a little bit of the coconut oil, and you can't taste this in the chocolate. Just take about a tablespoon of coconut oil. I'll show you what the chocolate looks like to start with. Okay, see how it's got a little shine to it, but once you put this oil in it and stir that in, and it makes that chocolate a little more creamier too. Just mix that up in there real good. Make sure it dissolves. Melts real good. Now look at that. How creamy and shiny that got. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to turn it to low. Okay, and I will show you how to make the balls. Dip the balls in this chocolate. But I'm going to bring you off to the side over here. Okay. Oh. Need 2 forks. Okay. Now we're going to start off with these here. Okay. And I'm going to take 2 forks here. Make sure this is all mixed up real good. Okay. Now, you could take a toothpick, and I'll show you how to do that with the toothpick first. I gotta get my toothpicks here. And this is what makes them be called Buckeyes. Is you can take your peanut butter balls and put a toothpick in it, like this, and dip it in your chocolate. And drain it. Make sure you try to get all that chocolate that is coming off, because you don't need a big old clump of chocolate. You just kind of turn it and you put it in your cup. And then you very easily take your toothpick out. Now if you see the top of that is not dipped in the chocolate, that's why it's called a Buckeye. Because it's got that little eye that's not dipped. Okay? Or what I do is I take a ball and I just drop it in the chocolate, swirl it around, and I'll do the same thing of just getting some of that chocolate off, scrape it a little bit, and put it in the cup. Okay? And that way all the chocolate is on it. They're still called Buckeyes or Reese peanut butter cups, but I like it this way because it looks more uniform. And that's all you do. I'll bring you back in just a moment when I get done and show you what they look like. Okay, I'm back. I'm almost done doing all the Buckeyes here. I'll show you how I dipped it. And then show you here. Okay, I'm going to bring you closer. Again, I'm showing you how I dip it. I put it on a toothpick. I dip it in and I shake it off. See how that is draining? I drain it as much as I can, and then I twirl it. Once I twirl it and it's not draining no more, I bring it over to one of the cups and put it in a cup. Or you can just put it on some wax paper and let it sit on the wax paper. Now, once you freeze these balls, you need to hurry when you go to do the dipping, because they will thaw out pretty quickly. So, and then I'm going to show you what to do with the leftover chocolate. Now, last week I made almond joys, and I made, after I got done with the almond joys, I made what they call Rocky Road clusters. This time we are going to make cashew clusters with the leftover chocolate. See how that ball looks? Okay. I'm going to bring you back here a little bit. Okay. I've only got a couple left here. And I'm used up all my cups, so I will show you. Just put it on the wax paper. Set it down. Just like that. Grab another ball. Dip it. Shake all that chocolate off and do a little twist. Okay. the hole that the toothpick makes it look like a little eyeball with that little bit of peanut butter sticking out. And that's why they're called Buckeyes. Okay? Now, I'm going to take some cashews with this leftover chocolate. Just a thing of cashews here. And I'm going to pour enough in there that will coat the cashews. But I want to make sure I don't pour too much in it. Now there's a lot of chocolate left, so I'll end up using all of these. Okay. Just pour it in and mix it up, coat it up real good. I think I'm going to put some marshmallows in there because there's still a lot of cashews, or a lot of chocolate left. So I'm going to put marshmallows in with it. And it will soak up some of that chocolate. Just take a handful of marshmallows, break them up, make sure they're not all clumped together. This makes for such a good holiday gift. Put them in those little, if you're making them for Christmas, put them in a Christmas tin. Now you can put this in these little cups too. Just get like a tablespoon or a teaspoon and put them in the little cups. Or just spread it on the wax paper and spread it thin. And then once it hardens up, then you can take a knife and make them into little bite-sized pieces. And you can wrap them up real nice and make them a holiday gift. Now, as I said earlier, I'm making this for Thanksgiving, so I will put these in the freezer since Thanksgiving's still a couple weeks away. I'll put them in the freezer. And then the day before Thanksgiving, I will take them out of the freezer and let them thaw out. Okay. Let's see. We've got enough here. I think it is a little bit more. I have a lot more chocolate left over than what I thought I did. Just make sure all those nuts get all mixed up with those marshmallows, so you're not just biting into a chocolate covered marshmallow. So when you bite in, you get a bite of marshmallow and cashews. Almost done here. Just got to make sure all these marshmallows are not stuck together. This should do it. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this and I'm going to pour it out on my parchment paper. The bottom of it's hot, so let me get a okay, so I can handle it better. Scrape it all out. Get all that chocolate. Okay. Once you got it on your parchment paper, just spread it out pretty thin here. I just pat it down a little bit and it spreads out. If you see some chocolate that don't have nothing in it, just kind of mix it up a little bit more with the nuts and the marshmallows. And once this is nice and spread out, you'll put this in the freezer too. Let it freeze. Once that chocolate hardens up, it only takes just a few minutes for it to harden up. But once that chocolate hardens up, you can take it out and cut it with the knife into little bite-sized pieces. There we go. Just like that. And then we'll put that in the freezer. Okay, and here's your Buckeyes. I'm gonna put you up here. I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna turn you around here. I want to say thank you for joining me today. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. Hit that notification bell so you can get more videos as I upload them. Have a good day and have a blessed day.